You started on an Su-33, press escape and change slot to an Su-35. You are now on a Su-35 at the ramp, ready to taxi. On this mission, we will learn how to taxi, take off, and climb on the Sukhoi Su-35S developed by codename Flanker Community for DCS, following realistic procedures. On the DCS options, select English as the avionics language if you'd like the training illustrations to match your own aircraft. The training checklist includes the following items: before taxi, before takeoff, and climb. Press spacebar to begin. Set engine mode to either combat or combat training. The combat training mode gives a bit more lifetime to the engine, while on combat mode, indicated by a green light on the button, the engine delivers some more power and the thrust vectoring generates a bit more G-loading for the plane. Toggle the button to continue the training. Enable the thrust vectoring control system, if needed for the mission. Toggle the switch cover, to continue the training. Enable or disable the auto recovery system using the highlighted switch on the left panel. Confirm that the nose wheel steering system is enabled, its power switch should be set forward. Toggle the switch to continue the training. Also make sure the nose wheel steering is currently active. If a red WTM warning appears on the LG page, then the system is not active. The NWS can be quickly activated or deactivated with the left Alt+Q keys. Toggle it to continue the training, but be sure to leave NWS active. Check the air brake and its indicator. On the Su-35, the large dorsal air brake of the Su-27 was eliminated, to increase internal fuel capacity. The aerobraking functions are now performed by the differential deflection of the twin rudders. Extend the air brake by toggling its actuator button on your HOTAS or by pressing its key bindings. The air brake is now extended, as indicated on the LG page of the right MFD. Next, retract it. We are now ready to taxi. Contact the air traffic controller to request taxi clearance by pressing /. Select F1, request taxi to runway.
104, руление. 104. Разрешаю руление на полосу 2-7.
Wait until ATC grants permission, which might take a while if the taxiways are in use. Take note of the runway assigned to our flight. It should be runway 27. Press spacebar once you have the taxi clearance. Runway 27 is oriented to around 270 degrees, so enter the course onto our navigation system by pressing the SC button on the right MFD. Then turn the brightness knob until the wide arrow of the HSI points to 270 degrees. Good, now press SC again to store the course value. On the UFCP, use the highlighted button to select a navigation mode. The Su-35 has 3 navigation modes: en route, ENR, return to airbase, RTN, and landing, LNDG. Select on route mode. The 6th line of the UFCP indicates that waypoint 0 is currently selected. Press the highlighted button to cycle through all waypoints of our flight plan. Select waypoint 1. Finally, on the CDU, select waypoint mode to auto. Press the master warning button to clear up any fault messages remaining from the cold start. There should be no warning lights left. Set the light switch to taxi, up. Confirm the ejection seat is armed. Press spacebar to continue. Remove wheel chocks prior to releasing the parking brake, as a lightly loaded aircraft will tend to move even without adding thrust, and this would make it harder for the ground crew to remove the chocks. Press / to contact the ground crew. Select F11, parent menu, F8, ground crew, F4, wheel chocks, F2, remove.
Убрать колодки. Принял. Командир, колодки убраны.
Release wheel brakes if held, add a bit of throttle and let the aircraft slowly move forward. Now apply the wheel brakes until the aircraft stops, to check their operation. Good, now release the wheel brakes and begin the taxi. In front of us is the taxiway, turn left when you reach it, as shown on the figure. Turn left, onto the taxiway. Now turn right to taxi towards the runway. The taxi speed limits are 50 km per hour on straights and 20 on turns. Bring the aircraft to a full stop just before entering the runway. At this point, or at a nearby holding point, you must perform the before takeoff check. Set the radar switch to standby, mid-position. Check master arm is at safe, down. Press spacebar to continue. You will now perform a wipeout of the flight control surfaces. DCS allows you to display a controls overlay with the keys right control plus enter. Wipe out the control stick in all directions. At the same time move the rudder pedals left and right. Good, this concludes the flight controls check. On the right MFD, press FUE to check fuel quantity. Good, the vertical bar indicates total fuel in tons. Next, press AEP to check the electric system status. Check that electric voltages are within the normal green range. Next, press HYD to check the hydraulic system. Confirm that all the hydraulic pressures and quantities are in the green. Finally, press LG and leave that page active, to monitor the landing gear status after takeoff. Check that the canopy is closed and locked. Press spacebar to continue. At this point, you normally would call ATC to request clearance to enter the runway, but a bug with the COLA map prevents ATC from realizing our position. So, instead look both ways to make sure the runway is clear and then proceed to enter it and turn right to align with its center line. Stop the aircraft once you have it aligned on the runway. You are now stopped on the runway, but the aircraft is not properly aligned with its center line. Your heading should be 270 degrees. Release brakes, roll forward and try again to align with the center line. Good, you are now on the runway and on a heading of around 270 degrees. Press spacebar to initiate the before takeoff checklist. Contact ATC to request takeoff clearance by pressing /. Select F5, ATC, F1, current airbase, F1, request takeoff.
104, взлет. 104. Взлет по готовности. Отход по схеме. На 300 по давлению. 2,9,75.
Set the light switch to landing, down. Make sure to be precisely aligned with the runway axis and then disconnect its nose while steering, as the Su-35 acceleration is so high that the rudder surfaces will achieve direction authority after just a few seconds into the takeoff run. Fully apply wheel brakes, to prevent the aircraft from moving too early and to give the engines time to spool up. Smoothly advance throttles to military power, over 90% RPM. Now release the brakes. Depending on weight and runway length, advance throttle into afterburner. Pull back on the stick to begin rotation at around 250 kilometers per hour. Airborne. Once positive climb is achieved, retract landing gear. Don't exceed 450 kilometers per hour with the gear down. Unlike older aircraft, flap and trim operation is automatic. Set an initial climb angle of 10 to 20 degrees. Turn the aircraft to the right until the vertical arrow that points to waypoint 1 is on the center of the bearing tape, such that you will fly towards it. Good, now keep climbing until the target altitude is met. On the left MFD, use the zoom buttons until you can clearly see the first leg of our flight plan, up to waypoint 1. You can also employ the CS button to change the HSI between center and front hemisphere views. Press spacebar once you have set the HSI as desired. You are reaching waypoint 1. Unfortunately, the next waypoint of the flight plan is not automatically selected, so press the highlighted button to select waypoint 2. Good, now turn the aircraft to the left until you set course to waypoint 2, like you did earlier with waypoint 1. Keep climbing until you reach 10,000 meters. You have successfully reached 10,000 meters, completing this taxi, takeoff, and climb training mission for the Su-35. We have covered the following procedures: before taxi, taxi, before takeoff, takeoff, and climb. Press spacebar to exit the mission.